BBC saying we're looking to have somebody who understands how to invest in somebody else's business and give them the mentorship and the guidance to build their own business. So I went on the show, and for me it was an amazing experience because I was running a private equity firm, something I'd never done before, because essentially my background is recruitment, and here I am today running a private equity firm, which is all about numbers and financials. And what so many people in my private equity firm don't know is I left school at 16 and had no qualifications. So essentially, even using Excel for me is an art. I can't do it, and yet I'm dealing with spreadsheets and diagrams and flowcharts. But the thing that I've learned as an entrepreneur is the things we can't do, we're very good at hiring other people to do. So I've surrounded myself with people who make me look great. So if I can't do numbers, I'll hire a guy who can do numbers. So essentially what I do now is through the private equity firm, invest in businesses. So my week looks like Monday to Friday, I run the private equity firm where I have 42 businesses. We generate just over, must be 20 billion rand a year now. Set up the business 7 years ago. Employs about 1,000 people, so I control 42 businesses Monday to Friday. On Monday, Tuesday, then Wednesday, Thursday, essentially I do media. So I have a TV show on CNBC called A Business Class with James Caan. I have a weekly column in a national newspaper. I write a blog for LinkedIn. I've got 3 books out. I have an app which is the world's best-selling business app. So 2 days a week I spend on media, and then 2 days a week I spend on the foundation. And essentially what the foundation is there is to inspire and help other entrepreneurs to build their business. One of the most exciting experiences that I've had, and the thing that's probably been the ultimate kick for me as an entrepreneur, was 2 years ago I was approached by the British government, the Prime Minister, who said that they wanted to make Britain a much more of an enterprising culture, to make Britain more of an entrepreneurial spirit. And they said, James, you're very well known in this country, people aspire to you as an entrepreneur, we'd like you to head our entrepreneurial campaign in the UK. And I said, that sounds really fantastic, what do you want me to do? And they said, well, we want you to go out and encourage people to start a business. I said, God, that sounds like a picture of Dragon's Den. So who's putting up the money? They said, we'll give you £100 million sterling that you can invest in other people's businesses. I thought, my God, that sounds like a crazy pitch. So what happens if these guys don't make it? What happens if they lose the money? They said, well, we recognise that venture capital is a high-risk game and people will lose their money, but we'll accept that risk. What we believe is if people can start their own business, what they're really doing is they're creating their own job. So this is more about creating jobs than creating enterprise. Because if that entrepreneur starts a business, he could then go ahead and hire maybe 5 or 10 people. So I said, great, and how many businesses would you like me to start? And they said, well, we'd like to target you with 1,000 businesses. I thought, Jesus, 1,000 businesses. At Dragon's Den, I did 4 years, I invested in 14 businesses. How do you start 1,000 businesses? Anyway, I thought it was a great challenge because I thought, imagine, when I'm 60 or 70, I look back at my career, and yes, maybe I've been successful, but to give 1,000 people the chance of starting their own business using the government's funding would be really cool. So I decided I was going to do it, so I became chairman of a company called Startup Loans. They gave me the £100 million, and basically I've spent the last 2 years travelling around the country, meeting really smart entrepreneurs and giving them the capital to start their own business. My target was 1,000. By the end of the first year, I'd opened 6,500 businesses. And March the 31st, just gone, we'd started 15,000 businesses, creating over 14,000 jobs. So I think it's fair to say I have a little bit of experience when it comes to starting a business. So I do have a lot of understanding and knowledge about the things that can go wrong. And of course, as we all know as entrepreneurs, it doesn't always work the way we think. When I look at my career, I can tell you that absolutely anything and everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. That is the one thing that you get as a guarantee as an entrepreneur. But I suppose the key message for me has always been that to become a successful entrepreneur, we have to recognise, that in order to be successful, we are going to get knocked down time and time again. There was a stage in my career when my business had collapsed, the country went into a recession. I happened to be in a recruitment business where we effectively rely on people hiring. In a recession, people lay people off, there are no jobs. my business collapsed. I literally didn't have the money to pay wages on a Friday, and it came that close to the brink of collapse. I wouldn't have been here today, but actually just recognizing that that will happen to all of us as entrepreneurs. You know, whether your product becomes out of date, whether your service gets out of date, whether the country goes into recession, whether you run out of capital, all of these things happen. But people who are truly successful, who believe in themselves, recognize that actually the skill is to find the solution. And there were so many opportunities for me to have thrown the hat in and said, you know what, I'm getting out of this. But actually, I didn't give up. I recognized that actually, I just had to ride it out. And no matter what I did would not have made a difference, but I just had to be patient. And of course, we know that the economy runs in cycles. The economies go up, the economies go down, and actually just riding it through, seeing that market through. In the mid-90s, the market literally took off, and because I'd seen this before, the second time round, I was ready for it. And literally, my business went from 10 people to over 500 people, and revenues of over £1 billion, because I understood exactly when to make that decision. So I think the key for me has been, it is amazing to have the opportunity to be an entrepreneur, to be in control of your own destiny. But certainly for me today, I think the key message that I'd love to share with you and leave with you, it's not just about what you do for yourself, but to be a real and a true entrepreneur, it's what you can do for other people. Because I believe the thing that inspires me the most, the thing that gets me out of bed in the morning, is the other people I mentor and people I look after. And actually seeing their success actually encourages me. But also it keeps my feet firmly on the ground, because sometimes you become fairly successful and you move away from where you started off. So constantly each year I mentor between 12 to 15 people, where I take my time to see how they're developing, what they're doing. And actually for me, that's like the fuel of an entrepreneur, to see other people succeed. So my kind of message really for you, yes, I think the opportunities exist, I think people can be successful. If you're looking for a reason to fail, trust me, we could spend all afternoon with a list as long as your arm. But that's not what true entrepreneurship is about. If you want to be successful, it really is about how you feel. The thing that I would say for me has probably been the one ingredient that has given me that success, is recognizing that businesses are not about products or services. So when I sat on Dragon's Den, most of the panelists used to get really obsessed with somebody's idea or their product, because they thought, my God, that's amazing, it's going to be great. But ideas by themselves do not build businesses. Amazing products don't sell off the shelves. It requires people to do that. So my key success, my key ingredient of my success has always been focusing on finding people smarter than me. And people say, yeah, but it's okay for you, James, you've got a lot of money. But you know what, there was a time I had no money. But what I did have is, when you run your own business, you have something called equity. And equity is a currency that you can use to attract talent. Some of the biggest businesses on the planet today used equity to find talent that money couldn't buy. So actually you have got something that enables you to do that, to find those people. And if you analyze yourself, you will have certain strengths and skills, but you'll also have weaknesses. And to be a complete entrepreneur, you need to have that complete skill set. So one of my secrets has always been, in anything I've done, is not to be greedy. I want to own 100%, because my father taught me a really, really big lesson at the age of 12, a very smart lesson that said 100% of nothing was still nothing. And that's never left me. I'd rather own 10% of something that's worth real money and share some of that equity to meet some of my weaknesses. So in anything I've ever done, if I recognise that maybe marketing isn't my strength, or financial, so I'm always embarrassed about the fact that I didn't go to college, I don't have a degree, I can't use a spreadsheet. Yes, it really worries me, but the way I combat that problem is I find the smartest numbers guy that money can buy, because he makes me look great. I can read a spreadsheet, but I can't produce one. But actually, it doesn't matter. So whatever it is that you cannot do, you need to make sure you have somebody around you who can do that with you. I think the organisers have said to me, I have the opportunity and the time for 1 or 2 questions. So before I leave the stage, any questions that I can share with you before I go and have some biryani? Any questions? Yes?
Mr. Caan, what is the secret of your diet?
Oh, my diet? You know, I surround myself with amazingly pretty women, actually, and they just always make me look great. Yes?
Next time, if you put pretty ladies on Dragon's Den when Deborah Meaden and Hillary Dubeck.
Well, Hillary's not one of them, by the way.
Mr. Caan, my name is Ashok Sunarayan. I'm the CEO of IBD International Bonds. Share with us the power of business failure. When you have an experience of business failure, what is the next step?
Well, that's something I specialise in, because I can assure you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, I can guarantee I have failed more than you have. Because to me, failure is the journey of success. If you do not fail, you do not succeed. So actually, the thing that I think is unusual with me, the thing that I can share with you, is I embrace failure. Because to me, when you look at your life, if you look at the things that you do well, I believe you learn nothing from those things. Because you take success for granted, because you expect it, because you work hard and you believe in yourself. When failure comes along, I think you should embrace it, because you learn so much from it. And just to give you a great tip that I use, every time I have 46 CEOs who report to me. I do their annual reviews every year, and each year when I do their review, my closing remarks is always, John, I'm really pleased with what you've done, and I think you're doing great, etc. However, the one thing I'm slightly disappointed in is I just don't think you make enough mistakes. And they look at me like I'm from some, cuckoo land. And they said, what do you mean? I said, it's the only criticism I have, because the one lesson I've learned as an entrepreneur is if you're afraid to make a mistake, you can't succeed. Because entrepreneurship is about taking risks. But people by nature, their DNA is they don't want to take a risk. The problem is, though, for us, if we want to encourage them to grow, how will they grow if they won't move forward? So actually, what I do in my head is I think, if he made some mistake, how bad could it be? So he loses a grand or 10 grand or 20 grand, or he loses an individual. I'd rather him grow that business. So actually, to me, the answer to that question is embrace failure, because you will learn about it, and also it will make you a much better entrepreneur. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy lunch, and I look forward to seeing you later. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, because of time.